filmmaking. Also, any authors, when we think about legal, protecting yourself, same thing applies. A lot of times you all will see me as a current film and television producer talking about, all things business in the television and film world. But keep in mind, I used to be an author. So I want to jump right in, let you all come in a little bit, and um, give you a second to come in. And I'm going to start talking through my points of the session. First of all, I just need to know, have you all been enjoying these live master classes? If you've not seen them before, you got to make sure you're following me, Tressa Azarel Smallwood. I'm on Instagram at CEO Azarel. I'm on Facebook as Tressa Smallwood. I'm everywhere. However, you got to tune in every first and fourth um, week of the month so that you can watch these master classes, first week and fourth week of every month. So again, tonight we're talking all things legal. We're talking acquisitions for film. We're talking about how to collaborate in general. So I want to kick it off with, obviously in the pre-show, you all probably saw some of my films, right? And you saw the trailers in the pre-show. Well, it took some strategizing to get to the point where you could actually see these projects. That means we had to find a home. We had to go, take the what I call the distribution walk, where you're out there trying to pound the pavement. You're trying to figure out the best placement for your project so that people can see it. Well, it all starts in the very beginning, before you even make the movie, right? So I want to touch on a little bit of legal first, and then we will morph our way over into the acquisition piece, right? So ask yourself, how do you protect your ideas if you're in the beginning stages and you have an idea, you're starting to share it with folks? I don't care who it is. Keep it close to the vest first until you can figure out what this project is, right? Because right now, we're all seeing the stories out there where everybody thinks that somebody is stealing their idea. Prayerfully, it's not the case, but we do know that in some instances it is the case, that somebody is actually not being honorable and trying to take somebody else's idea. So how do you protect yourself? So a few things. If I'll just touch on the authors here for a minute, and then we're going to go right into the film producers, writers, screenwriters, etc. So we'll start with, as an author, you write a book, you need to go and you protect yourself with the copyright, and you go to the U.S. Copyright Office, uscopyright.gov. Obviously, when you go there as an author, you're going to fill out a totally different form, right? Form TX, T is in Tom, okay? X is in X-ray. And you're going to fill out that form to copyright your work as an author. When do you do it? Obviously for you all who know me well, you know that I have written 7 novels. Yes, wow, 7. And that's how I got my start. I wrote my very first novel back in 2001. And so copywriting your work, at that point for me, I waited until I got my very first completed draft, and I did a copyright on it before I got it edited. That was a preference of mine. Some people decide to do it at other phases. Sometimes if you feel so strongly about your content, the project that you have, and you don't have a full manuscript, if you copyright it beforehand, you can do that. And then you can go back when you complete your final manuscript. It's a preference, right? We've all heard of the poor man's copyright, where you put your manuscript into a package and you literally mail it to yourself, so you'll have proof of the date that it came, etc. That works as well. I think that we all have to realize that what works for one person does not work for someone else, but you absolutely must protect your work. Now, let's move over a little bit into the filmmaker's world. If you are a screenwriter, right? To all my screenwriters, when you decide to copyright your work, you still have to go, if you're scripted, right? That means you've written out a screenplay. You go to the performing arts section on the Copyright Office. Again, same website, uscopyright.gov. And this time you're going to click the Performing Arts tab and you're going to copyright your screenplay under where it says screenwriting works, performing arts works. And you're going to copyright it. And when you do this there, you are protected based on the work that you are putting through. So again, decide when it's good for you to do it. Are you in your first draft? Are you in your second draft? Are you waiting until completion? But you must do it. Let me tell you some of the downside to not doing it. I have met filmmakers who actually wrote a screenplay, who got the funding, they produced the movie on a lower level, smaller budget, got distribution. Somebody else claimed copyright for it for whatever reason, thinking that somebody stole their idea. But because that person did not do the original copyright, they lost the case. You see how it'll mess you up? So you must copyright. Now, let's talk about protecting your work if it's not a written work of art where, because sometimes you can have an idea. Let's say you have an idea for an unscripted show. Well, you might have the same idea as somebody else. And if you just write out the basics of that, let's say you write a treatment and you register it with the WGA, right? Writers Guild Association, East, West, and you go on there. If it's not very detailed, and it's just a generic pitch, a generic show, and somebody else and comes along and has something very generic as well, now you got to go to court and go through all these motions because you got to prove that you had it first. So it's really all about just protecting yourself, just really thinking through, holding, you don't have to go out there telling the world right now, because you shouldn't even talk about it until you have your ideas really concrete. You know what you're talking about. You've thought it through. You strategize. You're in full development. I think I want to address just for a moment what that really means, because people are rushing out here. You all know I have a mentorship program. And so I talk to a lot of new filmmakers, new screenwriters. The common denominator is that everybody's rushing to the finish line. I got to get this done. Got to get this done. And not taking the time to do things correctly. Like, there are phases to all of this. And if you miss the legal part, if you miss the legal phase, you don't do the appropriate copyright, you don't get the appropriate agreements. When you collaborate with people, you write screenplays for people, determining whether you're a work for hire, not a work for hire. These documents not only have to be completed, executed, fully executed, but also you've got to record them in the U.S. Copyright Office. Okay. So I want to stay there for just a second and talk through what that really means. So let's say, for example, if I hire you, because I do hire a lot of writers, if I hire you to write a screenplay off of a concept that I created, story by me, I give you a contract. It is a work for hire contract. That means that you do not own this. I'm paying you a certain amount for you to do work. It's a work for. Sorry about that, y'all. So when that happens, that agreement, when I go to film this project, I file it in the Copyright Office. Okay, I record the agreement, so that you can never come back to me and say, oh, I own a portion of that. No, you don't, because the contract says you're a work for hire. So you see how important your legal documents absolutely make sense. You have to do them. They're important. They have to make sense not only to you, but to anybody else who's fully executing with you on these agreements. It's very, very important. All right. So I'm going to pause for just a second. I want you all to think about what I said, jot down some notes, make sure you, oh, I see. Hello. Look at all my people. I'm over here in the chat. Hello, Eva. Hello, Yolanda. Oh, I love, I love. Hello. All right. Yeah, I want to see in the chat, they're asking, where are you tuning in from? Want to know where you're tuning in from. Um, okay. So anyway, hold on. Um, okay. So legal, again, very, very important. I want to move into acquisitions and why this legal is so, so important. So in the world of acquisitions and film and television, let's say, for example, you write a screenplay, you find funding for your screenplay, okay? And now you have to find a home for it, a license deal. That is acquisition. They are borrowing your project, they're going to acquire your project, base word and acquisition, for a short period of time, right? And you've got to start learning, what is that financial transaction look like when you have a project. I think when I first came into the business, I had so many grandiose ideas of what that looked like. Y'all could not tell me that I wasn't going to make millions off of my first screenplay, off of the first movie. Have you all seen my very first movie, Secrets? Have you seen it? We shot it in November of 2015, which means 2015 of this year will be, 2025 next year will be the anniversary for Megamind Media. All of you all are invited to the party, 10-year anniversary party. It's going to be huge. It's going to be major. I know I'm so off track, but I need y'all to see it. And before we get there, I need y'all to make sure you are studying Megamind Media, you are following my company so that you can feel like you've grown with us over the years. You can start with our social media pages. Um, Go to our Instagram and go all the way back to our very first post and follow the journey so you can see all the people that we work with, the cast, the crew, just people who've impacted our world, inspired us. But for us, that's really, really important for people to go on this journey with us so that you can see what it has taken. So our very first movie, Secrets, shot it again, November 2015. At that time, we didn't know a lot. We were just learning the business and we didn't know what acquisitions was. What we knew was that, hey, we want to shoot this movie. We want to turn a profit and we want our audience to see this book to film adaptation. So Secrets was obviously the origin of it is Secrets of a Housewife, right? That's the movie poster, y'all. Oh my goodness. Very first movie. Oh my goodness. You can go watch it right now on Tubi. Shameless plug. But that was our first movie. Again, full transparency. We didn't know everything. What we did know was that we wanted to make an impact. We wanted to take the manuscript, the novel that was written by Jay Trimble, and we wanted to turn it into a movie. And so for us, the first thing that we did, what do you do when you don't have knowledge? We're smart enough to know we have to go find a mentor. So I did that, found a mentor, started working through this process, brought a team of people on board who knew more than me. Now, they didn't know what I wanted them to know, but they knew more than me. So for that, I'm forever grateful. Um, Ended up meeting up with my good friend Jamal Hill, who at the time, I think maybe he had 2 or 3 movies under his belt. So again, he knew more than me. And we went on this journey together, all of us. And on this journey, we realized, okay, we're making some mistakes, but we're going to get to the end goal. And the end goal was to have a finished product that we could, one, get our investors' money back, and 2, that we could find an acquisitions deal where a network, a platform would acquire the project for a certain period of time and then give it back to us so it could remain in our catalog. That is the important part of maintaining your own intellectual property. Okay. I want y'all to just say intellectual property with me because that's the key. And you'll notice that I talk about that a lot. So if this is your first time being on any type of session with me and hearing it for the first time, you're going to hear it a lot. Intellectual property, better known as IP. it is what you need to have, right? It is what you need to have so that you can build a catalog. So we went on this journey, launched Secrets 2017, BET acquired it for 3 years, for 2017 to 2020. Huge success for us. We were very, very proud of this movie, despite any mistakes that we made. The one thing that we absolutely did not mess up on was the legal piece, was the chain of title, right? And so the legal piece, when you're talking about making a movie, goes from making sure you have your cast agreements in, you got to have an agreement in writing, fully executed, right? And you got to know what these documents are. Your agreements with your directors, your agreements with your screenwriters. Everybody has to sign these documents, and you have to have an organized system of knowing where they are. It's called your chain of documents. Also, music agreements. When you start to do music, you get musicians. You can't just, if your friend is like, oh yeah, I do music, I'm gonna give you my song. You need paperwork. I'll say it again. You need paperwork. You need paperwork. I'm going to keep saying it because so many times we will get a notice from a platform that says we have to pull down a project from a filmmaker because they didn't get the appropriate paperwork, right? So, at Megamind Media, we do distribution for filmmakers. Most of you all know that. You have to have your paperwork in order, because if we put you on a platform and then we get a note saying that your music didn't clear, you don't have the right clearances, we have to now take your project down off of these platforms. Yeah. You gotta take it down. And it's like, why? Because you didn't do the necessary homework in the beginning, which is why you all are here, right? For real success, right? These major sessions, right? So just stop and give yourself an applause, round of applause, another one, simply because you're here, you're showing up for real success where you're learning. You might not be in anybody's mentorship program. You may not have daily mentorship, but even if this is a start for you, just coming here, learning, again, making sure that you are following, listening. I drop jewels all the time. I always drop nuggets, but you got to be in the building to hear it, and you got to receive, and you got to do the work. Okay. That's the key to that. So let me go back and check the comments and see what y'all are saying again. Okay, I see a lot of folks is here from Atlanta. Okay, so I have a question, Yolanda. I'm going to take your question. I had my scripts registered with the WGA, so the U.S. Copyright Office is better. Not even going to say better, Yolanda. We don't want that war. What I will say is to go with the added protection. If you are in the process of producing a SAG movie at any point, where you're using Screen Actors Guild actors, they're looking for you to register with the U.S. Copyright Office. So you want to make sure that you start to do that. Hi, David. Hello. Okay, so I know a lot of people are here and not joining into the chat. Would love for you to join and invite some people. How do you invite people? I need my team to tell y'all how to share this and invite folks here. People can always go back and watch the replay, but I want you all to start tuning in and being here the first and fourth Tuesday of every month. First and fourth Tuesday of every month. Okay. All right. So going back into acquisitions, I want to talk realistic, manage your expectations, dollar amounts, right? So what are some platforms where you would like to see your project, where you want them to acquire your project, right? In the chat, I want y'all to tell me, and let's see. Do you want to see your project on Hulu? Do you want to see YouTube acquire it, not just put it on there waiting to see if you can monetize? I'm talking about really acquire the project. Do you want Peacock to acquire your project? Who do you want to acquire it? Let's see what you all are saying. And then let's go deeper and talk about dollar amounts. When a network is going to acquire your project, the dollar amount that they give you is going to be based on who's in your project. If you have Denzel, you're going to get a pretty big acquisitions payment. If you have me, your payment won't be that great, right? Because I'm not a notable actress. Y'all are like, what? Yeah. So see what y'all are saying. Okay. I see the comments. Yeah. Yeah. So uh, all of these places where you want to see your work, they're also looking for a certain level of content, right? So if you want Hulu, for example, to acquire your work, what kind of projects are they streaming on Hulu right now? And I'm talking about originals. If you go to Hulu and you look at Hulu originals, look at the type of projects that they are streaming and look at the quality. And then that means that if you're going to pitch something to them that you want them to acquire, it has to be of that level, of that quality, right? Um, I just saw Denisha say we are on Tubi. So we all know that when Tubi started, anybody could get on Tubi. The quality didn't matter. It could be camera shaking. It could be the lighting messed up. That was what was happening when they first started. The model has shifted now at Tubi, and they're not allowing just anybody to get on. And you can see that they are doing Tubi originals, right? And with these Tubi originals, they're higher level projects at this point, right? Are you all seeing that out there when you're watching these things? So I think you need to start paying attention, because when you think about the world of acquisitions, you don't just jump out there and say, pick me, acquire my project without understanding the business. That's really, really important. Okay. Y'all with me still? Wonderful, wonderful. So, and I'm going to give you something to think about. If you were going to buy a car, right? If you are buying a Volkswagen versus a Honda versus a Mercedes versus a Lamborghini versus a Rolls Royce, they're all in their own category, right? There's certain people that are going to buy a Rolls Royce. There's certain people that are going to buy a Honda. There's certain people that are going to buy a Volkswagen. Same thing in the industry. There's certain networks that will buy certain projects. There's certain networks that will not buy certain projects based on who's in it, based on the look of it, based on the marketability or the lack of marketability. Um, so you have to spend your time knowing your audience, knowing the project that you actually have, and making sure you pitch to the right people in hopes that they will acquire your project. Okay. A lot of this really revolves around you spending the time knowing the market. It's one thing to get out there and network, meet people as you should, but it's another to make sure that you are learning, being knowledgeable, so that when you walk in the room, they know that you know what you're talking about. First of all, when you walk in the room to work on pitching your project, your completed project, right? Because acquisitions is a completed project, pretty much trying to get somebody to acquire your completed project. And so in order for you to do that, if you have a completed project and it's good, you want to be that voice, that light that walks in the room where they say, oh, this person knows what they're talking about. I want to do business with them. Does that make sense? Perfect, perfect. Oh, y'all are talking in the chat. Let me see what you're saying. Okay. Perfect, perfect. Yeah, they changed in January. Yes, they've been changing all along. Shameless plug for us here at Megamind. We have Kiss of Death on Tubi, which is a Tubi original. I'm not sure if you all have watched it or not, but yeah, whoever is working behind the scenes, baby, it has it going on. That is Kiss of Death. Make sure you watch it. The other thing is we have Married to a Baller coming up next on Tubi. We will be sharing the artwork in the next 2 weeks. But you'll see that there as well. And you can watch some of our favorites on Tubi right now. Secrets is on Tubi. All In. Yep. Dishonorable. Taste of Betrayal. Know Better Love. Deadly Getaway's not on Tubi yet, but you need to watch that on BET. I think that one of the other things too is when you are thinking about acquisitions and looking for a place, that you want them to acquire your project, go watch some of the movies on the platform. If you told me right now that you want your project to be on, let's think of something, Netflix. Go look at what's airing on Netflix, right? You want your projects to be on Peacock. Go look and see what they're airing on Peacock. What are the projects? Because typically they're going to look for some of the same types of projects because of the demographics. Everybody has their own demographic. If you go watch TV One, right, and you're watching that platform and you're thinking about pitching something to them that is unfinished, undeveloped, it's not developed yet. It's just a vision right now. Look at what they're putting out. Also, this is the other thing I want to share. I know that we have people from all over the world here, but this weekend coming up, I am going to be at the Prince George's County Film Festival, and I'm moderating a panel about, it's called The Art of the Pitch, teaching people how to pitch, understanding what to say when you walk in the room, to your network executives, to your producers, to your production company, to anybody who has green light capability. Because it's one thing to think about acquisitions and to know about the legal process and all of that, but you got to get a green light first. And how do you get that? You being your best version of you, knowing how to pitch your project, knowing how to say to somebody why this project is important and why it should be on screen. Okay, that all starts with you. All right, so let's see what you all are saying here. I want to make sure this conversation is still good. Oh, BMF, yes. Yes. All right, so I want to be able to touch on one other thing before we end our session today. Collaborations, right? Collaborations, because it kind of ties back into legal, because when you do a collaboration, the most important thing is to have your paperwork in order. What is the process? What are you all doing together? Who's going to do what? What is this person's response? It's like having a business partner. When you collaborate in the film and television world, even if you collaborate as an author, you got to have it all together in terms of your paperwork, or you're going to be battling. You'll battle later. You will. Think about your relationships that have failed in the business world in the past. Why did they fail? Most likely because you didn't have your legal in order. You didn't get things written down. You didn't decide what was going to happen if A happened, what would you all do about it? If B happened, what would you do about it? How do you split up proceeds? Who has control? Who has the final say? Those are all the things that you will work on. So now let me talk about what most collaborations will look like in our world. Most times it's authors collaborating together, or it's screenwriters collaborating together to complete a work of art. If you all do that, go back to what I taught you earlier in the session. Get a written document, a writer's agreement saying that you all own this project together. Is it 50-50? Is one person doing more work than the other and you all are going to do a 70-30? Whatever it is, get that right. Get your agreements together. Collaborations also require you to really think about who you're collaborating with. Have you done your research on these people? Do you want to go down this road with these folks? For me, when I look to collaborate, I look to collaborate with people who know more than me and who can bring something to the table different than what I bring to the table. If I want to collaborate with you and I'm the one doing all the work, then something's wrong here. I got to figure out what we can do different. So yes, research your partners. Again, all of this ties back into legal. Before you can even get that big check, before you can get that notoriety, before you can get your dream project off the ground, it is all going to depend upon who you are linked up with, the work that you put in, and are you doing it the right way? Doing it the right way requires knowledge, which is why you're here for these real success sessions. I'm so glad that you came. We're going to keep it going. Every time that I teach a session, I'm going to teach something different that I promise will help you in your journey. Make sure that you continue to follow me on all platforms. CEO Azarel. I'm proud of myself, y'all. I am 30 movies in. 30 movies in. And by 2025, when we have this big anniversary party, I hope to be 40 movies in by then. Y'all with me? Y'all with me? So go to the website, megamindmedia.net, so that you can see all of the movies that we've produced. Again, make sure you're following me. And lastly, I just want to share that I have a movie coming out with Mona Me Entertainment and Supermassive Entertainment. It's called The Lost Holiday. It will be in theaters, limited theaters, this Friday, September 27th. I'm so excited. I need y'all to go see it. The only way you can tell where the theaters are, where it's going to show, is by going to our social media pages. My team is going to have it up on probably tomorrow. By tomorrow, they'll have it up so you all will be able to see where these theaters are. Please share it. Share this. Share this session. Bring all your friends the next time so that